First year pro, has unbelievable debut at Kona and wins.
This is Ruth Astle. In 2019, she competed in the Ironman World Championships for the third time in her age group and won it. 2 months later, she turned pro. We were interested to find out how it was going and exactly what it takes to go from age grouper to pro triathlete.
What's the most fun thing you've discovered so far about finally turning pro?
I can eat more chocolate because I'm training more.
Ruth did her first triathlon back in 2013. From there, she began to gain momentum and went on to qualify for the Ironman World Championships 3 times. In 2019, Ruth gained a spot on the Zwift Triathlon Academy and was awarded with top-of-the-range kit, support and expert advice. With this extra boost, Ruth won the overall age group division at Kona in 2019, the final push she needed to believe she could be competitive as a pro.
I've always been quite average at sport. I think I've got a bit of an endurance kind of engine, so I've managed to blag my way through a few things, but I've never been, the best at any sport. So definitely back then, if you'd asked me in 6.5 years, are you going to be pro? I'd be like, I probably would have laughed in your face. I think triathlon definitely, there's more opportunity to get into it later in life. I think you can see with a lot of the pros, there's a lot that have come from corporate backgrounds or different sports. I think there's huge opportunity because, especially at the longer distances, I think for the Olympic distance, then no, I think you need to have been doing it since you were probably able to walk. But I think for the longer distances, you can definitely build up that endurance, and it's definitely a sport that you can get better at as you get older. I look at some of the pros that are still racing in their early 40s with kids, and it's like, well, I've still got ages that I can keep racing as a pro, which is quite nice, really. Again, having seen quite a few people that have gone from like high-flying careers and then tried triathlon and done it professionally, a lot of none of them have then said, oh, I regret doing that. I think I really didn't want to look back and regret not trying it. I think probably one of the other things I was quite conscious about with when I turned pro was being at a point in my career where I was at a senior enough level to make it quite easy to come back. So, I felt like I was at that stage. Does it make it any less scary, kind of suddenly going down to really not very much money and having this whole unknown ahead? Because I think, again, in my career in Lloyd's, it's much more laid out in terms of here are some of the ways that you can step up, and this is like the kind of career path, and this is what you follow. And I think traditionally you also have this idea of like, I'll follow this, and then probably at some point I'll think about having kids or whatever. Then you throw the triathlon into the mix. It's like, okay, well, this is this whole new thing of, I've got no idea where I might get to. There's like so many ups and downs, and there's all the kind of luck and things that with injury that can also throw massive spanners in the work. I think most people have just kind of said, like, you need to keep it fun. So I think, like, for a lot of people, again, that biggest transition from age group to pro is that you're probably not going to be working full time. And quite a lot of people go from working full time to then just training. And I think it can make it then very intense, which can take the fun out of it. So I kind of purposely made sure that that wasn't going to be the case by keeping a couple of days of work. But I think it's also, if you can keep sight of why it is you're doing it, because again, people shouldn't kid themselves that they're going into triathlon to make money. Like, if money's your motivator, don't bother. It's just not going to happen. You need to be doing it because you love the sport, you love the training, and you like the general atmosphere around it. And I think as long as you're kind of clear that that's why you're doing it, then it should keep it fun.
When you're working, doing your other ordinary job, what were you doing then, this sort of time, and how's it different now?
I would be sat at my desk on a Wednesday. Yeah, it could be anything really, but probably doing some presentations or just working through some emails, catching up with my boss potentially. But yeah, like each day at work was quite different, to be fair. It would kind of depend what ad hoc stuff came in as to what I was doing, but I'd be in the office starting to think about lunch, definitely about this time. There's no change there, but yeah, not doing very much else other than just sat in front of my laptop. So I think actually for me, it's quite important at the moment to try and keep focusing on like the very short term in terms of let's just take each week, let's try and get good training in each week. Then, you know, as we approach race season, see how that goes. But I've kind of in my head I'm going to see how this year goes in terms of, am I still enjoying it? Am I seeing progression? Is it still kind of working from having that kind of work-life balance with doing 2 days of work and the rest of the time training? And kind of reevaluate, because I think, again, I need to make sure that I don't go down the path too much of it becoming too pressured or it just not being fun or getting to a point where I feel like actually my brain is just melting into nothing here because I'm not using it that much with, with doing more training than work.
So what are the biggest main differences then really between what you did then and what you do now?
So the biggest difference is sleep. So then I was probably surviving on about 5.5, 6 hours sleep a night, which is definitely not enough. Whereas now I'm getting more like 8, 9 hours a night. So definitely felt some of the benefits from that. And then I think just the time I've got to sort of actually chill out a bit in between sessions. So again, then was like train really early before work, be like rushing into work, then intense work all day, rush back to try and do a session in the evening. Whereas now it's like, generally speaking, get a session done early, come back, chill out, probably do another session, eat, recover, chill. Oh, it's definitely less stressful. Yeah, I mean, probably the only thing I get stressed about is not doing that much. So sponsorship is definitely one of the challenges, and I think that's something that actually for a lot of pros is the part of the job that you really don't like. I think if you're the kind of person that just likes doing your training and racing and getting on with it, that whole sponsorship side is actually quite hard because you are basically trying to sell yourself, which for most people is not a very natural thing to do. I think it's also really hard trying to quantify what it is you can offer. There's so many people out there that could sponsor. Why would they pick me over someone else? And, you know, I think that there's obviously things that I think make me different to other people, but trying to actually write that down, talk about that to people when naturally you're not that kind of person is really hard. I'm in that kind of space at the moment where I've not really got any pro results that I can really shout about. So it's quite hard trying to think what can I offer those companies as a pro. I probably would have been better off staying as an age grouper and winning things. Probably much better for them. So yeah, the sponsorship side is tricky. I think you just have to try and position yourself and stay genuine and hope that there's someone out there that's interested in it. And I think just generally trying to think about what are the things that you like using. So I've been quite careful this year to keep to the products I actually like. I really didn't want to go down the route of just getting free stuff and being like, yay, I've got some free kit, but I don't actually really like it. Which I think some people fall into that trap of, oh, I need some sponsors, I've got to get people on board. I also didn't want the pressure of having loads of sponsors this year, because for me, I then feel like I had to deliver more for them. So I think that's another aspect that's quite hard, that if you have quite a lot of sponsors on board and you've got that bigger team that are all helping you, it is additional pressure, and each race you go into, then you're not actually just racing for yourself, you've got this whole team behind you as well. So I think that's also quite hard. Just getting ready for a bike ride. I've had some lunch, been swimming, and now I've got, what have I got? I've got a 3-hour ride with 10 lots of 2.5 minute efforts, which is going to be fun because the weather is still not amazing and the roads are all a bit sketchy. I'm doing it on my road bike rather than my TT bike. Definitely looking forward to when it gets a bit nicer and I can ride the TT bike a bit more, which I need to be doing anyway with my race coming up. So the weekend might be 5 hours on the turbo, looking at the weather forecast. So make the most of the blue skies today and then see where we get to. Just had a little comfort break before I start my intervals. Yeah, I've had a nice hour warming up and yeah, about to start some hard work. So I had to take a few clothes off as well because it's actually quite warm. But when you're doing intervals, it's a bit harder to kind of do that with a group. So solo today, but yeah, I think it's just nice being out of London and being on much quieter roads. Makes a big difference. Kona 2019 was an interesting one. So having had a really good Kona in 2018, I felt really confident about the 2019 season. And really I was feeling really good post Roth. So I thought, you know, if I can just keep this fitness going, build up to Kona, then that dream of being the overall winner, you know, it's kind of mine to lose. And 2 weeks after Roth, I just had my sort of couple of weeks off. I was going out on my bike ride, my first bike ride back with a couple of friends, and a car cut across us and knocked us off. As soon as I sat up, I was like, that's my collarbone broken. I was back on the turbo pretty quickly. And I think that's the joy of things like Zwift. You can kind of get back on, you get the people in the community around you that keeps you motivated. I kind of felt, and you know, this was 12 weeks out from Kona, so I felt my dream of winning overall, especially considering the swim is my weakest discipline, having that further time off swimming, really not ideal. And also the time off running and all the long bike sessions. So actually I felt that dream's probably over, but let's just go out, see what happens. It took all the pressure off. So actually I felt there wasn't really much pressure leading into Kona. I think people weren't, well, if they were expecting much, they didn't say it to me. So on race morning, I felt more in that position of, this is my race to lose. Let's just see what happens, get through the swim, which is always my outlook anyway on any triathlon. And then let's get on the bike and have some fun and see where it goes. So I think, honestly, coming across the finish line, the biggest feeling was of relief. I think I've been so public about wanting to win the overall race and like being very outspoken about that actually I was like, thank God, because now I don't have to try and come up with some excuses as to why I didn't win, or, you know, I don't have to be disappointed in not winning. And I think the fact that I won by quite a margin and kind of where I placed sort of overall, again, gave me that confidence that, right, I now feel I can turn pro, it's the right decision, and now's the right time to do it. But I wanted to feel like, no, like I'm definitely like one of the best. And I think winning it by a bit of a margin also made me feel like, yeah, okay, I think then I'm ready to step up, because as much as I like winning, it's like, are you really challenging yourself if you're then going to keep on that age group circuit? And, you know, well, hopefully I would keep winning if I was going around the age group circuit, but, you know, it felt like the right time to be like, what's the next challenge? Let's go and race the best people in the world. All right, so that's done for the day, and yeah, time to chill and then back into it tomorrow. Hello.
Morning.
Morning. Welcome to Thursday morning. We're about to go swimming.
Do you like swimming?
I hate swimming. It's definitely a love-hate relationship. Sometimes I find it quite satisfying, and if I have a good swim, it's really rewarding. But I just find it so frustrating. Like, it's really up and down. If I have a bad day, it's a really bad day, and the good days are very rare. I like it a lot more when you're out in the open water and you've got the sun on your back, or if you're in a nice outdoor pool somewhere lovely. But yeah, generally this kind of swimming in like a busy pool where you're trying to dodge people is quite miserable. We are a long way from Hawaii, although it's like a bit of sunshine. Swim done, woo! Can get on with the fun bits of the day now. Run. Well, actually breakfast. Breakfast is the first fun bit. But then yeah, run and bike. And the sun's out, so it's going to be lovely. So about to head out for a run. Had a little bit of chill time from my swim. Yeah, now head out, nice hour steady of running around the reservoirs, avoid the mud / go straight through the mud. But yeah, just a nice steady run, nothing else. So as an amateur, I was working full-time for Lloyds Bank. I guess I was squeezing my training alongside a sort of 60, 70-hour week job. So early mornings, late nights, cramming a lot in at the weekends. And it generally felt like I never stopped. So it was always like go, go, go. And I'd be pretty knackered by the end of each week. But I think for the kind of time period that I was doing it at that intensity, it just about worked. But I think, as I mentioned before, after some races like Kona, the mental break that I needed from running like that was quite big. So yeah, it was kind of always on, always trying to do something and always under quite high pressure. But how I make money now, I'm still working a couple of days a week, which is keeping me enough to kind of, I guess, pay for the basics, pay for sort of travel, accommodation, race entries. So actually, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm making money. I think I'm surviving at the moment, but I put aside a lot of money from when I was working full time because I didn't want the pressure of having to go and race for money or having general money pressures on this first year as a pro. Definitely feels way more now like I'm following my passion and like my real passion. Like I do still enjoy having like a kind of a different work focus, and I don't know whether triathlon would be as much of a passion if that was my only focus. Like for me, I think it's quite important having a bit of variety and a bit of balance. So having the couple of days work and then the triathlon works well for me, but I definitely feel, I guess, way less pressure from the fact that actually I'm doing something I really enjoy and I'm kind of chasing that dream, and I'm not going to look back in sort of 5-10 years and regret not trying to give it a go. One of the biggest challenges of being a professional triathlete this year will actually be, I think, almost managing my expectations of the improvements that I might make. So I think given how busy my last few years have been, I kind of obviously have this kind of expectation that by getting the rest and recovery, that's like the magic thing that's gonna, alongside obviously more training, kind of make me better. But I think also trying to be realistic about how long that might take to come through, because I think often it's quite easy to get caught up in thinking, oh, I should be, making improvements each week, etc., etc. But I think actually that kind of improvement and like proper improvements with the rest and recovery probably will take quite a while to come through. So I think being patient is, because it's not one of my virtues anyway. So being patient about the improvements that will hopefully come. I think for me, the best thing about being a pro so far is definitely feeling like you're chasing your passion, because there is something quite freeing about that, and it makes you feel, I think, much more appreciative about everything. So it's not, it's very different to that daily grind of get up, go into work, whatever. And I'm sure at some point when I'm a bit more used to it, it will feel a bit more like a daily grind, just getting up and doing the training. But for now, it's still really refreshing being able to wake up, do my training, fit in a few other things, and being able to relax. So yeah, I think that's probably the best thing at the moment. I mean, there's the things that I would like to be headlines.
Well, give me a front page newspaper.
Front page newspaper would be first year pro has unbelievable debut at Kona and wins.
Obviously, we are all experiencing testing times at the moment, which have come about since filming with Ruth. That being said, though, we wish Ruth all the best in her new career and new chapter in life as a professional triathlete. We hope you've enjoyed hearing about Ruth's journey from age grouper to pro. If so, do make sure you give this video a like and don't forget to follow us on social media.